Good day, listeners. I am Denisha Fraser, Master Teacher of Business Education in Jamaica. Welcome to A Moment with Teach Frey. Today, as I hope to inspire my teachers, I hope that this story that I will share will ignite something in every listener to want to make a difference. Today's session is entitled, Who is Your Thomas? As a teacher, I have met just three kinds of students. Some who are very poised to learn, some who are not into school at all, and then the in-betweens. The ones in the two extremes are not so challenging to deal with, since they're either hot or cold. However, the in-betweens are really a challenge. Well, a few years ago, among all the students I had that year was a special one called Thomas. Well, let's call him Thomas for privacy. So, I met this Thomas while he was a ninth grader. He was a classic troublemaker, the type who showed up to show out in the worst kind of way. Now, raise your hands if you know a student like that, the classic troublemaker. If we were all in the same room, I'd ask you to put all those hands together that are raised, and then we would get my Thomas. Thomas was so misguided. He was so misguided that he believed that the way to get the approval of his peers was to be out of order. He was breaking so many school rules that as a ninth grader, he was not very far from being expelled. However, there was something about Thomas that was screaming, I need help. He was obviously too proud to ask for help since he was the self-made gangster. So I gave it some thought and decided to try to save Thomas from himself. I went at it with the most genuine entrance I could. I saw him one day and took a moment to tell him how special he was. He was naturally a brilliant boy, but he was so distracted trying to prove a point to his peers that I feared the worst would happen to him. You see, Thomas's real problem was a home one. He did not have structure nor affirmation at home, and so he sought affirmation among his peers. He wanted their approval and did all the bad that he thought he needed to do to get this approval. So, when I told him he was special, or a special kind, he scoffed a little at what I was saying to him. However, it was clear to me from the get-go that one attempt would not do. Several days later, I saw Thomas on the corridor and put in another word. He was a little more receptive that time. Well, I was throwing him a lifeline, but I knew it would take some time for him to take it. The third encounter was a situation when he was in trouble with the school administration. This was his umpteenth time, and of course, he was in flagrant violation of the rules. When he saw me that time, man, he was excited. You could see the relief in his eyes. He was ready to take the lifeline. So I got involved and got him out of that problem with the hope and with the promise to the administrators that I would help to get him on track. So from that day, I started working with Thomas, my Thomas. I assisted him in developing a study schedule and to remain within the school rules. I ensured that he knew that I believed in him and that he had all that it took for him to do well. So he did get into some trouble from time to time, and of course, he sent for me sometimes to help him out. But day by day, he conformed a little bit more to the rules. We worked out a program where I checked in on his academic performance on a monthly basis. He also had to keep his attendance up, and we spoke about what he needed to do to ace his exams. There were odd times when he came just to check on me. Thomas started saying things like, Miss, exams are coming up. When are we going to work on my study timetable? I'd often laugh at how the studies became ours. As he neared his high school exit exams, I held Thomas accountable to ensure that he had all his school based assessment pieces completed and that he started studying long before the exam dates. I know it sounds like a full-time job, but it wasn't after all. I just saw him like once every other day for like 5 minutes unstructured, and we made it very casual. Thomas couldn't afford to feel pressured, and I never wanted him to feel pressured or frustrated. He didn't want his peers to think that he was no longer cool or that he was in some kind of a program. So I worked with it. So Thomas stayed in school, and as for his exit exams, you guessed it right. He was very successful at every single subject that he sat. He had behaved well enough to stay in school and long enough to be a successful graduate. You wouldn't imagine how excited Thomas was when he contacted me about his results. He was very grateful, but more than all, it was the question he asked me next that was very telling. Thomas said, "So, miss, what are we doing next?" And I was a little startled, so I gave it a little thought and said, "Okay, let's do sixth form." And sixth form it was. Today, Thomas is furthering his studies after sixth form. He's more settled and more matured than he used to be. Though he's no longer in my everyday environment, I continue to pray for him and encourage him, and he knows how to find me. I'm just a phone call away. I've had that Thomas and many other Thomases in my 13 years of teaching. There are a lot of persons around us needing help to find themselves. My question to you today is, who is your Thomas? Who is that one person who needs you more than any other person? It might be tempting to ignore that hard case, but we must remember that those are all people who God made with a purpose. And because of how the law of sowing and reaping works, the benefits might be reaped by a family member of yours in the future. Let us do the best we can for every Thomas. Let's help another person and another one to find purpose. Let us change a life and impact the future positively. Until next time, it's Teach Frey. Love and peace.